Good day and welcome to another edition of The Conversation, coming to you live from TV 360 here in Lagos, Nigeria. My name is Nelson Ekujumi. I'm a public affairs analyst, and on this day, I have with me in the studio the Executive Director of Center for 21st Century Issues, a legal practitioner, as well as an environmentalist. I have here with me in person of Comrade Titi Akusa. You are welcome, Comrade.
Thank you. Thank you for
thank you very much for being our guest today. Yeah. Like we know, this program is an old bar program in which the discussants are both on the same page, as on the same level, I mean to say. So this day we are going to look at quite a number of issues. In this first stanza of the program, we'll be looking at the new development concerning the rising singer's death. That's Ilori Oluwa Aloba, popularly known as MOHBAD. You recollect that when this young man died sometime last month, the father already buried him, less than 24 hours after his death. And this advocacy rented the public space and even went beyond Nigeria. And people started pointing fingers at some persons as being responsible for the death of the young man. And some of us were very cautious and, we tried to call for caution. But people didn't want to hear. They were like, oh, just like it happened in the Bible when Jesus was taken to Pontius Pilate. And Pontius Pilate said, I've looked at the records of this man. He has not committed any sin. What do you want me to do with this? Just say, crucify him. And just over the weekend, last week Friday, the Commissioner of Police addressed the media with regards to the police findings on the cause of death of the young man. And for me, what makes the whole scenario very saddening for me was that, one, in the midst of the brouhaha, the threat to public peace and safety by the mob mentality that has become the way of life for some persons who want to drive us on that trajectory. But we have always told them that, look, if you want to behave like a mob, we are people with our brains on our head, and why God has made us a higher animal than other animals is because God has given us that faculty to reason logically and rationally. From the police findings now, we have discovered that the wife knew all along how the husband walked on that path till he met his end. The father knew because from the report, it was the father that went to the young man's residence in Lekki to go and retrieve the body and took him to his residence in Ikorodu to bury him. Mm-hmm. So I want to ask, is this how we want to run our affairs, such that when something happens, some persons want to railroad all of us into their mob mentality and start pointing and squeezing fingers and want us all to join them to crucify whoever they have alleged, even without any substance to prove the allegation?
I think, you see, we should not be surprised with what is happening. With the extensive use of social media and, the fast way in which information passes through social media, it is expected that the way people will internalize information will be very different. Some people will first of all believe what they see without verifying, without checking. Some people are like that. It is what is served to them that they look at.
Is that the way to go?
I'm not saying that's the way to go. Some other people, after looking at it, will say, okay, let me dig a little bit to know whether what I'm seeing is true or false. At a particular point in time when social media started really working in Nigeria, I was one of those. Once I saw an information, I quickly pass it on. Until one day I saw that I started passing wrong information. Then I had to think twice. No, I can't be passing wrong information because somebody sent it to me. So we all know that social media, it's easy to use it as a tool for propaganda. We all saw it play out during the election. We also saw it play out during the EndSARS. So I think by now we should be ready and have our counter propaganda to ensure that the truth comes out. And this is very, very important. If you are somebody who is a media person and who actually consumes information from social media, you must be ready to fact check. not only fact check, you must be ready to be a bit patient to actually search the whole of net to see whether what you are seeing here is actually corresponds to what is happening. I will give you an information. During the election, during the gubernatorial elections, during this last election, when somebody came out and said, the lady that won in, I can't remember that state now, whether Gombe or so, that a woman has won as a governor. You know, it took me almost 1 week before I started, sharing that information. But at last, at the end of the day, we still found out that she didn't win that election. So these are things that we have seen occur so many times. So by now, we should not just...
That was in Taraba.
That's not Taraba. I'm not sure. I can't remember the state anymore.
It's in Taraba.
But the truth of the matter is that I think at this point in time, we shouldn't be overexcited about breaking news anymore. We should just take a step back, study the situation, study the report, dig deeper, and be sure that we are reading what is. Then also we have to look at handles, verified handles, where we know we can get the real, true information, and then dig deep. See, everybody wants to trend, and people can latch on anything to trend.
No, Titi, it's not about the fact that people don't know that, the amount of falsehood, the amount of concussion, the amount of fake news has become too rampant in the social media these days, that the social media has now become more of a menace than what a media is supposed to do. Because why do I say this? You saw some of the videos where even some of the people went on marches, justice for MOHBAD, where some were hacked. What are you people even doing?
Of course, you should know there's going to be a mixed multitude where you have those kind of people. Some people may not even know what they're celebrating.
Absolutely.
But some people just join the crowd, maybe for food, or for so many other things that will happen there.
Yes, I agree with you, because I recollect that during the NSAS, the NSAS protest in 2020, some person said it was because of the drinks and the type of jollof rice, shawarma, and what have you. That was the purpose for their, being a part of it. But looking at this issue, how do we ensure that we get justice for MOHBAD? Because if you ask me, let me give you my thoughts. If you ask me, in prosecuting this case, the wife of MOHBAD is now an accomplice because she knew all along and she kept it to herself. You can imagine if the police if the security agencies had not managed it well. We almost had people trying to reenact the NSAS. Yeah. Even when they had their procession at Muri Okunla Park, they now went to the Lekki toll gate
to start
another one. You also recollect that, a lot of names were mentioned, and I know as a legal practitioner, in law, there's what is called malicious damage.
Yeah.
So for me, if I have my way, I will want those who have been maliciously, maligned as being responsible to take it up legally.
It depends on what you mean by maliciously.
When people say X is the killer of, even without autopsy report, without a death certificate.
Let me tell you one thing.
Okay.
People can assert, and if you go to court of law, they will say he who asserts must prove.
Yes.
That's it. But that's why I like the way the police is going about it. The police has waded in. They've reined in everybody. They've rarely ran any person's name that was mentioned. And they have looked at what role they have played or they could have played.
Yes.
And that is the way to go about doing your thorough investigation. And when you do your thorough investigation, before you know it, the real culprits will come out. If actually he was killed. Because it's also possible that he was actually also not killed. You understand? There's a whole lot of possibilities. Because so many things happening that night. The night he went for that place.
There were too many conspiracy theories.
See, of course. And the reason why there were too many conspiracy theories was because this young man has been bullied for a long time and he has kept quiet. The family also knows, and I can't blame them. You don't know the kind of threat that has gone into that bullying for the family. And if you listen to some of the songs by the late MOHBAD, he said they threatened the father, they threatened the mother, you know, and these are things that has happened to him without mentioning names of those who threatened them.
But you and I know very well that we live in a society that is governed by laws.
Yeah.
If anybody is threatened or anybody's rights is undermined, we all know that the most appropriate place to go is the police. But a situation where...
But he did so. Mohbad wrote a letter to the police on the matter.
But the police said he didn't come because the police...
He has to follow up.
Yes, the police are not angels.
Okay.
If you report,
the
police will expect you to come and give them further information. But if you are not forthcoming, because like we say in law, where there is no complainant, there is no case. If the man who has complained halfway in the journey says, I'm no more interested in the case, the police will have nothing to work
I'm not
with.
sure whether the police said he's no more interested in the case.
No.
But what I know that police will normally do is that when you write a petition like that, they will also call you and ask for further particulars.
Yes.
And then they will ask for the phone number of the others so that they could call them and interrogate them. Or where they live.
If they don't have,
and
if they don't have a phone number.
We don't,
where can we get...
We don't really know what transpired between writing that letter and at the time Mohbad died. So nobody can say, unless the police comes out and say, after writing the letter, he never came back. We called him, he didn't respond. These are different issues entirely. So we don't know much about that. But what we have on our hands is that this young man is dead.
And that the circumstances surrounding his death was totally divorced from what was being alleged in the media space.
Well,
that is the fact.
You see, it may appear divulged, but after investigation,
divorced. No,
sorry, divorced. After investigation, we will actually know whether it is divorced or not. Because as we are speaking now, investigations are still on.
Yes, but
and you see, let me tell you one thing. I'm a lawyer. People can kill by proxy. The only thing that people were saying that he was beaten by charm, and I laughed. I said, I don't see any autopsy that will go and detect charm. So there is nothing like chance in scientific and evidence in court. So you better look for your real evidence, or else you go explain tire on this matter.
Okay, thank you very much, Titi. We thank you very much for your submission on this matter. At this stage, we want to go on a short break, but before we go on that break, I want to emphasize that we hope that the police, we put a closure to this matter and ensure justice for not only Mohbad but the society, that was almost, assaulted by cries that were not substantiated with facts and evidence. We'll go on a quick break. We'll be right back. Please stay tuned.